So Tesla. I put my fishing rod in the water today because I wanted to see what people had to say. So I'm not sure if you guys follow me on X, which is always linked in my description area. If you ever want to follow me on X, if that's something you use, I always post a good amount of content on there. But I put the fishing rod out there today and I said, Tesla stock's now down over 50% from 5 months ago. Buy or sell Tesla now. And I want to see, like, what do people have to say about Tesla? Are they bullish still? Have they gone bearish, right? And I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't like what I saw. Not like it. You know, it's probably a buy here right now, that sort of sentiment. The negative news from yesterday is probably already priced in. Bad earnings usually boost short-term performance. So if the market is down as a whole, Tesla will likely rebound by the end of the week. I've been DCAing pretty much all year. You'd be a fool to sell now. It may go down this week, but looking back, this August would be now regrettable. Buy, and buy some more. Tesla has to be a buy at this price. Big buy more. I bought a few today. Remove the sell button for the next 5 years. Tesla's not a stock, it's an IQ test. Buy, this one really scares me. Buy the bottom is $200 worst case, right? That's the stuff that really scares me. Like, oh, $200 worst case for Tesla. Like, can't go lower than that, right? Stuff like this, pull out a second and third mortgage, right? Buy, Optimus robot hype will take off this summer, $500 this year, right? So I don't like what I'm seeing in regards to that. There's still, you know, Tesla's such a sentiment-driven stock, right? And what I've found time and time again is you don't get real bottoms on Tesla stock, it seems like, until the sentiment goes horrible. It's not really like about a price level. It's not about a forward P or anything in regards. It's just you got to wash out the sentiment. Until it doesn't feel like you can ever get a bottom on Tesla until everybody's ashamed to say they're even buying the stock. Unless you have the craziest brass you know what. It seems like until you get to that level, like you haven't really reached a bottom on that stock, right? And so if we go back to, you know, my insane cost basis, right, back in 2019, back then people were not loud and bullish about buying Tesla, right? People would watch my videos back in the day and I was talking about buying Tesla and this is a big opportunity I see and blah, 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 right? But people were quiet. They were real quiet and people would watch my videos and some people were buying that stock and they made life-changing money on it, right? Millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because you didn't need a lot of money in Tesla to have made hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, right? It was crazy money-making opportunity back in the day. Nothing like it is today, right? Nothing. But back then, whew. And, you know, there's a reason I call this house the house that Tesla built. It was an incredible opportunity. But a lot of people were quiet. They weren't loud. They weren't saying, buy, buy, buy. They weren't saying all the bottom's in. They weren't saying like, you know, all this stuff that a lot of people are saying here. And even if I go back to, you know, the end of 2022, when the Tesla stock was hitting real lows there, it got down to around $100 right at the beginning of 2023, right? The bearishness was insane in regards to Tesla. Like no one really had much positive to say about Tesla. And you had even a lot of people predicting that Tesla was going to go down to $50 to $60 in 2023. Obviously it didn't. It went on a ripper rally and then another ripper rally in 2024, right? So it just feels like there's still too much bullishness from the retail community in regards to Tesla. I want to see that like sentiment like washed out. Like once everybody gives up on the robot idea and Optimus and all this stuff, then we're talking. Then we're talking, right? And so Tesla's at an interesting point because if this retail sentiment gets broken over this next few months, you know, this stock could go down to $100. And that's a long way from here. The stock's in the 200s right now. That'd be a 50% plus fall. So we'll see what happens with retail sentiment, but I'm just telling you, and if let's say earnings are bad and then people start doubting Optimus more and more, start doubting the robo-taxi opportunity and those sorts of things, woo! If you could break the sentiment, then we could be talking go back down to that $100 range, which is where it was back in 2022, right? Which would be, you know, then we're talking, right? Then we're in business. But you got to break the sentiment, man. There's still too much bullishness in regards to Tesla, right? And a lot of people try to argue with me about Tesla, and I just say, don't argue with me about Tesla. You know, like you can argue with me about other stocks if you want, not Tesla. I know this company like the back of my hand, right? Like I know what they're up to. I know what they're doing. I know what they've done in the past. I've kept track of the company. I made stupid money on this stock. And I know very well the sentiment around Tesla, the community around Tesla. And so, you know, if you ever see me buying Tesla, extremely bullish. Am I buying Tesla today? No. Am I at all interested in buying Tesla today? No. $100, we can talk. You know, under 100, then we can really talk, right? But based upon kind of everything I'm seeing in regards to Tesla, there's just much better opportunities from a risk-reward standpoint out there for the next 5 years. And it's really not even close. And so just do keep that in mind. I hold my shares today as more of a ceremonial position than like, you know, really excited about like, you know, money that will be made over the next few years. It's a little more of a ceremonial position because it's such a small amount of shares. I own probably, I don't even think what I own right now, I don't even think this is 10% of the shares I owned back in the day. You know, prior to the, obviously the insane boom and then all the money to be made and whatnot, right? So just keep that in mind in regards to Tesla. You know, people can argue with me if they want, but you're just arguing with the wall. You're not going to argue with me. Like, you know, if you think you all know me more than Tesla, like go ahead, help yourself. You know, there's certain stocks that I feel like people, there's like that top 1% that know more than me about that stock. And I would say like AMD, Nvidia, stocks like that, I feel like there's like a 1% out there that knows more than me than Tesla. No. That's not one of those stocks you want to argue with me about, trust me. How would you like access to all my best course curriculums? My Becoming Master of the Stock Market course, my Stock Market Investing Mastery course, my Stock Options Mastery course, my Millionaire Playbook. How would you like access to all my best courses, as well as the ability to have access to my 6 and 7 figure plus Discord community where we're constantly keeping in touch with each other, talking about what's going on in the market? How would you like exclusive weekly videos from me? How would you like the ability to see what stocks I'm buying and selling in my $2 million plus Fidelity account? If that all sounds pretty interesting to you, apply to join my private group. That is going to be linked in the description area down there. You can click on that, fill out an application, and go ahead, hop on a call with Andre. Andre will walk you through the whole process. He'll walk you through the whole group, and you can go ahead and join us in there. Once again, the link for that is in the description area. Disappointing, man. Disappointing, but it is what it is, man. And it shouldn't have been like this. It should not have had been like this.
Red Bush Securities, he has an outperform rating on the stock, but also a code red. Dan, margins, not great in this report. Inventories.
And the worst part is, you know, and maybe it has to do with Elon's ego, there's no one to check him. Who's going to check him? It's Elon Musk. There's no one that has a big enough you-know-whats to actually check him and be like, Elon, dude, you got to get your shit together. Like, just because you're the big dog, oh, I got the big net worth, oh, Tesla stock, blah, blah, blah. You think you're all this and that. You aren't. And your company's not. You're posting trash numbers quarter in and quarter out. You need to get your shit together. But no one's gonna say that's around him, because they're probably a bunch of yes men. And so they're like, okay, Elon, you want to be a part-time CEO, be a part-time CEO. You want to work 2 days a week, okay, that's fine.
Not great. Does it come down to the question of by summer, do they have production of these cheap vehicles, and is Elon Musk to full attention?
Yeah, I mean, look, let's call it. I mean, this quarter was a disaster, and the delivery quarter, you know, that significantly missed the street, and you look at margins and others, I mean, it's really about going forward in terms of 2Q, 3Q, 4Q. But look, $100 overhang per share if Musk stays in government, Doge, even as an advisory, or leaves. So to me, the most important thing on this call, it's not numbers. It's Musk on the call recommitting to Tesla as a CEO.
And he did.
And ultimately saying that he is going to leave the Trump administration by the end of May.
Is your outperform at stake?
The only thing he committed to was being a part-time CEO.
On that issue.
Yeah, look, I think if he stays and he doubles down and recommits, then I think this starts to become an avalanche that you can't control, because the brand damage we've talked about, we think it's about 15-20% brand damage. And the point is, if we weren't bullish, then we wouldn't care. My whole thing is, you're talking about, along with NVIDIA, one of the best disruptive technology companies in the world. Talk about autonomous robotics. But the big question here is, in terms of that lower cost vehicle that you talked about, like, does that come? They did commit to it in the call, and we'll see in terms of the press release. Do tariffs impact it? How do tariffs impact ultimately when you look at Cybercab, robo-taxi, and others? These are the keys as someone that's part of the administration.
Couple of things there. The first I'm going to start with is if you've had brand damage to Tesla and that's tied to Elon Musk and how far he's waded into politics, does him coming back full time to Tesla actually help the brand?
Well, I believe there'll be brand damage permanently, and there's no doubt,
Yeah.
but you could contain it. He could recommit. You talk about everything that's going on here in terms of the opportunities around autonomous, lower cost vehicles, cyber cab, everything else. Musk needs to drive that. And I think the reality is that brand damage will continue to be there, but that will be contained. If he continues to go down this path over the coming months, years, that's where it starts to go down a very dark path. And that's why we've talked about it, loudly. As someone that's a huge supporter of Tesla, you have so much good ahead. But now leaders lead, and at the end of the day, Musk needs to lead. Tesla is Musk, and Musk is Tesla.
How is Tesla...
And if you want to know why he's not taking it serious enough, I'll tell you exactly why. Because Tesla's still a $600, $700 billion company, whatever it is, right? Would you take it seriously? Like, my company's fine. They're like, market cap's like $700 billion, one of the biggest market caps in the whole world. Where's your incentive to take it serious? You're one of the biggest market caps in the world. You know what would get Elon Musk to actually take this serious? If Tesla stock really crashed, another 50%. Take this back down to $100 or so without even the market getting damaged. Because if the whole market was going down significantly, right, then people would just look at it, like he would just look at it as, oh, the whole market's crashing, so that's okay, our stock's down. No. Just have Tesla stock crash. Have that baby go down to $100. And I bet you Elon would start taking things a lot more serious, a lot more quickly. But as long as people are willing to just continue to buy the stock and hold the stock, regardless of, the bad numbers quarter in, quarter out, he's just got no incentive to take it serious. Because he's like, whatever, they're going to buy the stock anyways. Like, the perfect example is After Hours. After Hours stock up 5%. That's Elon Musk saying, see, so what, our numbers are a disaster and they're going to continue to be a disaster. But, I told them that, Optimus is eventually going to come and be a big thing. And I told them Robotaxi is eventually going to be a big thing. And they just bought it. There's no incentive there. No incentive.
They impacted. I realize there's, knock-on effects and, sales effects and retaliation in certain markets, et cetera. But how is Tesla directly impacted by tariffs? Is it these automaker tariffs? Is it supply chain tariffs? I mean, Musk's companies, Tesla included, are sort of famously vertically integrated and homegrown supply chains.
Well, I think the reality is, and we've talked about, is the view that Tesla or any other U.S. car manufacturer has all their parts from the U.S., that's a fairy tale, right? And the reality is a lot of those parts come from abroad. And when you think about these new vehicles that they're producing, as well as when you look at cyber cab, it depends on parts that come from China, where the materials come from. And we've talked a lot about that. Where the raw materials come from? They come from New Jersey? They come from China. So the reality is...
Remember a few years ago, Elon Musk was talking about the business is going to grow 50% a year. Remember that? The funny thing is, not even remotely close to 50%. Not only that, but the business is literally in massive decline. Massive decline. Multi-billion dollars down year over year. Crazy, man. Crazy.
That's why
and it didn't have to be this way. That's it didn't have to be this way.
Very important. Also, what's the hearts and lungs of Tesla? Where's the growth? It's China. Does retaliatory happen? And that's all part of it. Tesla's becoming a political symbol. This is the time for Musk. Draw the line in the sand.
And he didn't do it.
In my opinion.
He didn't do it.
You're saying there's...
If anything, he put a stake in the ground even more. The way that conference call started.
$1 per share upside if Elon Musk focuses back on Tesla. What's the downside if he doesn't?
It's a dark downside if he recommits, because then you start to have something where brand damage becomes worse and worse, retaliatory in terms of China, because ultimately, at the end of the day, Tesla's become a political symbol around the world.
It has.
So for Musk, this is a fork in the road moment. I believe, look, there's a lot of important conference calls that he's had. I think it's the most important conference call he's ever had because of the political damage in terms of the brand damage that he's created as part of an administration where the tariffs are hurting Tesla.
Yeah. All right, next one up here.
As the firm's top holding. Brett, great to speak with you.
Great to speak with you.
Tesla's about 12% of their portfolio. I'm wondering, Brett, I mean, I understand that you're a long-term investor. You want to see the robo-taxi story explained a little bit more, the lower production, lower cost vehicle, et cetera. Does the automotive business right now, right here, right now, have to work in order for those future bets to pay off?
Well, I love to hear the skepticism amongst the panel here, because nobody mentioned the most important data point, which is they reaffirmed the launch of robotaxi in June in Austin. And the way to think about this, the automotive business is important because you need to deliver units into the market, which they already have millions in play, that will become prospective robotaxis as they software update the vehicles. The entire business model of this company is going to transform as and if robotaxi launches, where you go from a one-time sale of a vehicle, as the panelists mentioned, at low margin, to generating ongoing revenue off of every vehicle in fleet over time. And it just transforms the business. So the marginally important news is, can they launch and can they scale that business successfully? We think the evidence is in play that they can, given the acceleration in AI. And we think that delivering incremental vehicles into the market, for now is good to build up that base that will become robotaxis. And in the future, that'll become the robotaxi capability will be a demand driver for their production. They're actually going to be production constrained again to a material extent, in our view, once robotaxi begins to scale across the U.S.
Robotaxi will not make the company money in the short term, even when this starts to launch. They'll take, likely, in my opinion, losses for several years in regards to the robotaxi business. Everybody's assuming from day one, they're going to be making so much money. They're going to be making so much. No. As with all businesses, you lose money at first. That's just the way it is. And so you think Waymo's been making money? No. You think Tesla's going to? No, they're not going to make money, because here's what Tesla's going to have to do. In order to really build a big base and get people really excited about using Tesla's robotaxi network, when that is finally launched in any sort of scale in markets, they're going to have to significantly undercut competition. Then they're going to have a bunch of crap that happens. If you think the vehicles are going to drive perfect, no, there's going to be situations that happen. People are going to get hit. Lawsuits are going to happen. Big legal expenses are going to happen. They're going to do some crap that, regulations don't agree with here and there in different states and different cities. And at the end of the day, then they're going to get big fines, and then they're going to have maintenance issues. There's going to be a million things that in the first few years are going to cause a company to actually lose money on that. And so, people are just delusional, completely delusional. Oh, we're going to make so much money. It's just going to be pouring in. I'm just geez, but it's a lot of people that never built a business. A lot of these people making these predictions about this, the thing I realized, they've never actually even run a business. Truly. They've never run a business, so they don't understand even how the financials will work when you start a business.
So Brett, you love to hear the skepticism. I love to hear the optimism, because as a futurist, it just seems like pie in the sky sort of stuff. I mean that sincerely, because you've been following this company, you've been invested in this company for a long time. And when have they ever hit any of the targets that you suggest? And by the way, you need to make this transition. And Mel started off asking the question. They have never had their core business so bad. It's never been this bad. And if it continues to get worse in a protracted trade war, you're just not going to have the ability to invest in robotaxi and Optimus, whatever the hell crap that you guys think is going to happen at some point. So
I agree with Dan on some of that, but in terms of reinvesting, no, they're good. They got $37 billion sitting around. So they can continue to reinvest in the business, even when, the business is complete garbage right now.
I'm just curious how you think of that, because you are the futurist, and I guess maybe I sound a little cynical.
Well, one, I think you're wrong that their business has never been in worse shape. If you look at their share of overall vehicle sales, they're roughly flat. Trailing 12-month vehicle sales, they're roughly flat. As they deliver a lower cost vehicle, they should...
Dude, roughly flat is not good enough for Tesla. Roughly flat? Come on, man. That's not good enough. Elon used to talk about we're growing 50% a year a few years ago. Come on, man. Now we're talking about roughly flat's good? No.
Sell more units in just on the kind of demand elasticity curve. And as they continue to drive down production costs, I think they'll deliver, less costly vehicles to the market. And those vehicles will be utilized more. The fundamental case is when you buy a new car, you're basically buying a bundle of miles at 75 cents a mile. if you could have somebody drive you around for $1 a mile, that's a great deal, and everybody will take that. And so once robo-taxis in the market, then they become a point-to-point transportation provider rather than just a seller of hardware assets. And
another delusional point, like assuming everybody's just going to want to take robo-taxis around and not have their own vehicles. No. Like, that would be cool, and as a Tesla shareholder, I'd be happy if that happened, but no. You know, a lot of people are still going to want to drive cars for years and decades to go in the future. Like, you could have massive amounts of Waymos and Teslas and Zooks from Amazon and all these different companies, right? And Uber's driving around with no drivers. At the end of the day, plenty of people are still going to want to drive their own vehicles. And it's going to be like that for decades to go in the future. So there'll be a growing market. But if you think like everybody's just going to give up the keys to their vehicles and just take robo-taxis around, like, delusional, like completely delusional. Like, it's just ridiculous, man. It is ridiculous. Like, wild.
It forms the business model and begins to spit off cash flow to fund Optimus and to continue to fund the AI data centers. So we don't see any cash flow issue for the business at all in terms of their ability to fund, ongoing CapEx and R&D operations.
Brett, we're just about out of time, but in order for me to understand your bet on the robotaxi, I have to understand what you think the robotaxi business will look like, because it seems like there are barriers that Tesla cannot control when it comes to regulate local laws regarding self-driving vehicles, what sort of platform it will use to interface with potential people who want to take robotaxi rides. I just don't understand how this actually will operate.
Well, Waymo's operating today, and the only reason they're not at larger scale is they don't have enough hardware assets. Waymo's great. I ride it in LA all the time. I would trust my kids in a Waymo, whereas I wouldn't in an Uber. Tesla has a benefit against Waymo in that they're going to be able to deliver a less costly hardware.
It's not to say the only reason Waymo's not way more scaled out than it is because they're lacking, hardware vehicles. It's also baloney. Like, there's so much that goes into it. You got to get approval from these cities to launch your vehicles all around. You got to also come in with the marketing behind it to make people aware, like, those vehicles are in the market. You've got to have teams in place to make sure those vehicles are operated well, they're maintained, they're cleaned, all that stuff. Like, to just act like, oh, it's because they can't get enough cars. No, that's baloney, man. Like, but if people don't research this stuff, they'll just believe that. Like, oh, that's why, huh? No, it's a lot more into it.
Which will determine their price per mile they're able to charge. Waymo is still charging Uber-like prices, and they have an abundance of assets. So you won't have to wait 10 or 15 minutes to get a Tesla robotaxi. It'll be available immediately. We think Tesla's going to launch their own app that people will download and use in competition with Uber and Lyft. And that individual owners will be incentivized to put their vehicle into the fleet to make a few extra bucks on the car that they already own. And that's how Tesla will complete its network, whereas Waymo has to partner with the likes of Uber to do so. So Waymo's already basically cut down the wheat in the regulatory pathway. And we think they're going to launch Texas and California this year. Those are two very big states. So they'll have a lot of ability to scale within those and probably multiple states over the course of the next few years.
Yeah, and some people will definitely utilize that. By the way, pin comment down there if you want that checklist on things I look for in a stock. That will be pinned comment down there. It's free to access that. So there will be some people that definitely do that, right? That will be like, hey, I'm not using my Tesla on the weekends or whatever, so it can go drive people around. There's going to be people that do that. That's going to be a thing, right? But it's not. Let's not even act like it's close to everybody, because you got to understand some people are not going to want other people driving around throwing up in their car and this and that, and coming in and out and messing up the seats and all the wear and tear and all that stuff. So some people will do it. Some people will say heck no, right? Like, no way. Or they'll try it out and they'll be like, bad experience, and they'll be like, no way, I'm not doing that again, right? And so, you do have to understand that. So moral of the story is here in regards to Tesla, it's a mess, man. It's a mess. And it just sucks because it didn't have to be this way, right? It just didn't have to be this way, but it is the way it is. And so, hope for the best. But man, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, man. Really, really tough. Like what would Tesla stock price need to be today for me to say I'm going to go buy Tesla stock? At this stage, it's got to be under $100. Much love as always, and have a great day.